Hello everyone on the internet and thanks for tuning in. I am RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to the episode of Toku Bros. I am your co-host, the Winter Cosplayer, and this is Rider Talks.
Lambda Alangina!
No. Oh, it's still no. Even
Still
after the no's.
no.
Just no.
Lambda
Anyway,
Alangina! What an amazing power-up that we've got from Espada. I love Espada.
Yeah, but as much as it looks cool, just don't do it. Next time, don't do it. But anyway, besides that,
we are doing Rider Talk today, so we are talking about episodes 5 through 8. Are you excited about this?
Thoroughly.
Right, so let's try and cover some Rider news. Rider news. I should have a splash. Rider news. So Rider news. What do we know? We know nothing. I don't know because we've talked about all the reveals. Obviously, we should probably do Rider news a little later when we're talking about 7 and 8 specifically. But let's see. We haven't had anything for a while.
Yep.
Let's see.
Because Rider news-wise, I have not seen any leak on any form or such. But once we do see or hear any reveals, then by all means we will talk about it. And that said, there is this potential leak about a Saber cross Kira Major movie potential power-up thing.
I mean, I keep hearing talks. I do keep hearing talks that they want to redo like superhero Tyson. I hear that,
but again,
but I've not heard anything substantial for quite a while.
I mean, this is merely just a mere speculation slash I don't know whether if it's a fan art or whatever, but again, once we hear something concrete, then we will discuss about it. But other than that, other than the fact that it looks like a very bad version of Wizard's Infinity Form, I have not heard anything other than that.
Sorry, because
But besides all of that, let's get down and into the main topic today, and that being at the moment between episodes 5 and 8.
So
take it away
with episode 5. So I'm going to straight off by say the CGI is really good at the moment, and especially in episode 5, it's really amazing here. But I will feel like, aside from the CGI footage, the actual actor character editing was really bad. With a few scenes into like new locations. For one example, Toma and Kento are having a discussion in their little shop, and then they're suddenly fighting with Espada, doing his henshin. Even though we had like this thing in episode 4 where he just secretly rescued everyone without any word of who he was, and now we're expected to find that these characters have naturally known and accepted him as Espada. I do like, certain things. I like a lot of things about Espada. I mean, the fact that his theme is Aladdin and the magic lamp. I do like that. I like the look, the sort of green and yellow-ish vibe. I mean, it's more yellow with a hint of green, I think.
Gold.
Gold? Yeah, all right, I'll go with gold. But I'll say, like, switching characters for a second. When it comes to Kamen Rider Buster, I think his name's Ogami-san. Anyway. I loved him in the first few episodes that he appeared in, where he was like this macho, serious father character. But yet, here in episode 5, I've kind of switched him to a comedy style character, like even, like he was joking about in the library scene, like the library setting. And then there was this random rooftop setting where he did like this comedy skit with Kento, which I actually did like, but I'm not sure if this is him going from a macho serious character to a goofy comedy character, just like Kintaros from Deno was. But I'm not sure if this is cliche and typical or just lazy unoriginal script writing. But I did like it nonetheless. I kind of rate his comedy skills, if I'm honest. When it comes to Kento himself, I mean, again, like, I've already talked about his mystery appearance in episode 4 as Espada. But I feel like I've blinked and missed stuff, because like, for one, he's like talking with Toma, not sure whether to reveal stuff or not, so there's a lot of mystery going on, and yet and then he just casually henshins in front of him. So I do feel like I've blinked and missed something. But the one thing I am absolutely loving is his mystery origin with his father, Kamen Rider Caliber, aka the guy from Fires and all other Rider veteran stuff that every Rider fan loves. So we're all loving him,
And
I'm assuming.
but don't forget also he was in Samurai Sentai Shinkenger
Yeah, yeah, I remember him in that. I do actually remember
as
him in that. It's
as
cool. It's
Hugo, and
absolutely
he was
amazing.
every time he was on screen. Then he was such a prominent role.
I'll agree with that. And so, yeah, but then, coming back to, Saber, he's, like, they've got, I love their face off in the fight scenes. And then, like, you had these recaps from Kento and, just kind of the sentiment, like, we're really feeling for him and we're also wanting to know this mystery of why did he turn against them? Like, that was Kento's question. And it's a question that we all have right now. So it's kind of really cool. But again, with that mystery on top of Toma's amnesia history and him not knowing, remembering anything, it kind of stacks up one on top of another. And I think it was in, I can't remember whether it was in episode 5 or 6 where they did that Tom Sawyer skit.
5.
It was in 5. So, like, we've got that going on and, there's all this mystery. But Toma's showing himself to have some empathy and, like, he's actually understanding, oh, something's amiss here with Caliber. And I'm not even 100% that he revealed to Toma that Caliber is his father, because we certainly see Buster and Blake talking about Caliber, but we don't really remember seeing Toma.
If I might, I was going to say, with the whole, number one, in regards to the relation between Kenta or Ikazuchi, if you will, or you can't miss that he was shouting "father" on the same fight
But
scene.
even if he did Toma? I don't remember Toma questioning such a thing either. Because again, there was a lot of scenes like that. I'm like, is this bad editing, or have I missed something, or what?
I feel. See, here's the thing: the editing. I feel this whole episode 5, was inconsistent, was rushed, and the fact that I say rushed in such that, and minor spoiler warning, that you had this main, what we thought at the beginning, of the main story, or a significant part of the driving force to the series was our protagonist, Toma, having insomniac.
No, amnesia. You mean amnesia?
Yeah, amnesia.
Go on.
My bad. Yes, my bad. Thank you. And amnesia. And all of a sudden, after episode 5, Kento is like, "Oh, let me just tell you."
This
And
like no, we do see in episode 6 a key line about that, but we'll come to that in episode 6.
I just felt it was very. Why? Why do you? Why do you say it? Why do you tell him? Why not just leave that mystery on until more later on in the series?
I think there is a reason to that, but again, I think we can talk about that in episode 6 a bit more.
I just didn't like it because I felt it takes away, it deflates that story drive, if you will, that people were hoping for, because Kento was having this burden of guilt that he was holding within him about lying and basically not telling Toma why he had this losing part of his memory, if you will.
Well, I think when it comes to, like you're talking about esteem and sort of story building, I don't think that's too much of a worry with not just Saber, but Kamen Rider in general, because, you look at series like Build, even 01, like, they have this thing, like, where they can really hype it and ramp it up very early on. But then there's so much going on that they've got enough to go through a series. I mean, there are examples, like Gaiman Wizard, where I felt that they just kind of ran out of energy quite early on, and the ending was mismatched. As good as the series, as both of those series were, that I felt their endings were awful because they had that progression, story, plot
Yeah.
kind of run out of steam. But
Yeah,
but when you look at build, when you look at even Geo and 01, they have kind of learnt this thing about having so much steam, and I reckon they'll be able to power through. And I don't think it's too much of a worry. I mean, even when you think
no,
power
see,
ups as well, it's the same in my opinion. Where they did 3 power
no,
ups in episode 3 and 4. I think it was episode 4. But I think there will be a chance where like especially when we start talking about episode 6, that they could potentially have a final form where it's just like all the Wonder Ride books just strapped to him, just like Geo was, just like Vulcan
right.
in 01 had with all the Progwise keys. I think it's got there's infinite potential, whether it's original and cliche, whether it's unoriginal and cliche, it will still remain to be seen.
Right. I'm gonna first off say that I hope that the steam, if you will, the story drive, if you will, does not lose steam. But this story review, if you will, is for me a kick in the teeth, if you will. It's a not major,
Go
but
on.
it is a significant deflation. It does slow the train, if you will, the driving force. And so I hope, like you say, that they maintain this consistent
Well,
drive.
even in this time of uncertainty, I do still have faith in Ryder. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it could
Good.
dissipate, and yeah, I think people are still there's still a good portion of people that are feeling negative about this series anyway. But again, it's kind of what I said in my Kamen Rider chart rundown, that even if I've rated a series low, it's not because I necessarily felt that that series was poor, but it could be a case of I personally did not understand it. So like even with this kind of quirkiness, and again we'll be talking about quirkiness in episode 6, that we have like a lot of like they will experiment, they will try out new character traits, which will always be something. And again, but when it comes to writing style, we've just got to see that we can just hope, wait and see that they can at least continue a good plot progression. But when it comes to characters though, like I know I've moaned about this before, but when it comes to like May and Sophia, I will say that these are 2 wasted characters. I mean, I think Sophia still has some potential, like because at the moment we're just seeing her like on top of a balcony in the library. But May's character, it's like it's going from bad to worse in my opinion. Like she's all like, she's really thirsty to help Blades and stuff and find the rainbow bubbles or something. And I'm just like, they could have done so much more with this character. I mean, there was the female scientist from Ghost, as well as like reminding me of Akiko from Double, like just these irritating comedy female characters, and she's kind of
Right.
put herself in that kind of category, and I'm just like they could have done so much more with her. I'm a bit
Right.
honest.
With May, I feel she's gone from bad to worse to annoying to now almost forgetful.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to say I'd say everything except forgetful. That is not a forgetful character.
No, just okay, shunned.
Maybe
Sideline.
alright. I guess I can agree with that. So like coming back to a bit more positivity about Saber. I mean, I'll say the actions in specifically episode 5 was actually really good, and I like that Aladdin theme that they chose for Espada, as I said. But calling his sword Ikazuchi, now this is something that again, something like that is not going to escape me. Ikazuchi being from 01, the guy with the Dodo Progrise key or Zetsumetsu key. I'm trying.
That's a stretch.
Right, but no, but this is it. His sword's called Ikazuchi. I don't know what Ikazuchi means in Japanese.
Thunder. Thunder.
Okay. I'm sure there was another word for thunder, though. Never mind. There's so many words for the same thing. Anyway. But, like, I reckon there could be a connection, because I remember from the Saber trailer that they showed a dodo. And I'm like, I reckon dodos are going to play a part in, like, the power-ups or something. So I reckon at some point our boy Espada will get a Dodo Wonder Eye book, just as Ikazuchi from 01 had the Dodo Zetsumetsuki. Is it Zets?
That's a stretch. That's a real stretch.
I reckon.
While you're mentioning, no, I'm gonna jump in and say No, but while you're mentioning about the cross and all, I feel when you mentioned about the whole 13 Wonder Eye books earlier, you mentioned about it, and there potentially could be 13 riders and the
No,
whole
no,
mishmash of
I
books.
don't know about the number of riders because we've been told that Saber's going to have a high number of riders. But when it comes to all the Wonder Ride books, again, as I mentioned, I reckon just like Geo and Build had Genius form, I reckon there's, like we've seen episode 6, again, we should probably save it for episode 6, but again, I will still repeat that I reckon the final form is just going to be all the Wonder Ride books stapled to him, or at the very least, he's utilizing all the Wonder Ride books to fight Calibar. Bearing in mind,
But
he's
so
Brave
what's he
Dragon.
gonna?
Bearing in mind that Saber is Brave Dragon, and we see that Calibar is something like Jakku Dragon. So yeah, and then we hear all this talk about two dragons and the sword
Yeah.
or something. So yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of fans have been making this analogy with King Arthur. So it will be interesting to see how that ends. Hopefully that they make a good ending of it as opposed to a rubbish ending. But still,
Number one, I was going to say, do you think the ultimate form for Saber will be called library form?
that'd be good. I think we should go on to talk about episode 6 because I keep hinting at this. So going on to episode 6, so like we do see that our boy Toma has lost his powers and he's kind of he tricks the librarian guy, a guy who slightly introduced himself in episode 5 and is there in episode 6 quite prominently. A guy called Slash.
Yes.
He gets this forbidden book and then he starts drawing all over it, with tracing paper, trying to connect specifically 13 Wonder Ride books. But again, whether this will lead to the power up in episode 7 or not, I don't know. But I'll say that the one thing I do like about episode 6 is that we see Brave Dragon, Toma, Saber, lose his power and he doesn't just get his power back at the end of the episode. They're actually going to make a little mini arc out of it. So I actually do like that. And at the same time, episode 6, we cannot talk about episode 6 without mentioning the ninja star of the show that I absolutely
Oh no.
What?
No.
I absolutely love this character.
I don't.
I can actually understand why many wouldn't like this character. But once every so often, you get like a uniquely quirky character that turns up. Bearing in mind, like Reiwa riders overall have like some quirky characters. I didn't think I'd like his childish demeanor, to be honest. But the way he kept mugging Toma off at the beginning was actually quite funny. Only for Toma to turn it around on him afterwards. We got to see the monster form of one of the commanders, the blue guy.
Yeah.
Right, which Blades has this really personal fight with him.
Zeus.
Huh? Zeus, yeah, that was...
Effective.
Yeah, so, and then, we got to see this fight with Blades, and we got to see Blades' backstory, so it's just more mystery one on top of the other. But the guy who's playing Blades' master is also a veteran rider actor. Yeah, you might want to look that up in a bit. Don't look up right now, but again, I'm kind of rolling this. So we do see, we get to see like Blades have like this personal conflict with Zeus, which I thought was quite cool. And when it comes to, to jump character, when it comes to Slash though, I'm not still quite sure what to make of him. Bearing in mind he had this this kind of intro that crept up on us, but he's still quite a bizarre character. We get to see like these comedy scenes with Toma, and again it to kind of weave it back, like you got these serious scenes of Zeus and Blades, and then you have like these nutty scenes of Slash and Toma, which I felt kind of wove quite well. And then that post-credit scene was insane. I absolutely love that post-credit scene. I'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. Anything you've got thoughts so far?
I actually liked this episode. Minus one particular.
You didn't like Kenza?
No. I just right. Starting. Let me just get that part out of the way. I felt Kenzan. I had to think. Where do I feel where have I seen this kind of a very annoying character, if you will, very bubbly, very
Yeah, I like the
hyperactive,
quirkiness about him and the way he kept mugging
and it,
Roth.
and and it reminded me of Ryu from Denon.
Yep, I could see that. I could totally see that. I mean, I'd say there's differences, but I could definitely see that.
And that aside, just he would not shut up. Honestly, like where, how can I word it? He just,
But that's
on one
what's funny
hand,
about him. Like they did this whole competitive thing, and then even his Wonder Ride book. Yeah, like he had the ninja one, and then he had the Three Little Pigs one, and I'm just like, that's because I knew this was coming. Like, yeah, I'd seen all the spoilers in that, but I'm just like, that's quite a quirky power up. But when it comes to Kenzan's fight scene with that red face guy,
disaster.
but yeah, disaster. Like his Hisatsu attack was amazing.
I will agree that
That was
his
absolutely
first
amazing.
attack
Like,
was
I
good.
mean, again, like both episodes 5 and 6 were very heavy on the CGI, and again, you know, that's kind of understandable in the time of COVID. But
Right.
yeah, I'll say that the CGI is also really rich as well. So it's got good texture. It looks really good. And then like I'm genuinely having difficulty trying to distinguish some scenes whether it's green screen or CGI. So
Mm.
I do believe that they've like again obviously with COVID and that because I could appreciate 01, they did a lot of good live action scenes. So and again that's kind of what Toku fans tend to crave for more, if anything. So the fact that they
See,
had to dial that back down, they've had to dial that down for COVID, I will cut Ryder some slack, and I will appreciate the quality of their CGI and their green screen. And obviously, they're doing the layering thing that makes two actors seem next to each other, and really they're like, kind of like this.
yes, yes.
So I can cut them some
Look,
slack.
I was gonna say one thing I don't like, but it's very on the nose, in the face, whatever you want to call it, is the CG to when they use the three little pigs power.
Okay, I mean
Um,
that's 2D. You got to bear in mind they do that in 2.5D.
but
Quite clever.
but but I do like how they do the Hisatsu attack, especially with Kenzan, how they make it like a flip book, and it's almost like a, how can I wear this? In a way, it felt like a somewhat not homage, but similarity to Hurricane's finish behind the shutters kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that totally. I mean, the one thing I will say is like it's kind of I'll say that it's kind of fresh that they do that kind of thing and they can pull it off, in my opinion. But the one thing, yeah, but to kind of round it off, like that was a really good fight scene. I did love the CGI. I loved Kenzan's Hisatsu attack. But then when they all recongregate at the library, and there's this whole thing about the quest for Avalon, which we've not talked about too much. But there's this quest for Avalon, and then you just like I wasn't expecting it. I think they kind of really crept that up on me, to be honest. You just see Blades like come back from his duel with Zeus.
Defeat, defeat
I
against.
don't know. I think he just kind of walked away. Oh no, because he was on,
No,
and then Zeus walked away, wasn't it? But that
no. So basically,
episode 6, right? I mean, I'm not. We will not spoil this, but that post credit scene, or the fact that there was a post credit scene was a shocker enough. But that scene, if anyone's not seen episode 6, that post credit scene is just so worth it.
can I just add one
Go on, I'll let you add one last thing. Go on.
I feel that the way that this series is going is a very O's route, and what I mean by that is like we've already got, well. So let's start with Saber. You've got Brave Dragon, and now he's introduced with Storm Eagle in episode 5, which is another Red Wonder Ride book. You then have Espada or Kento, which you got the Alan Lambda Alangina, thank you. And then
Yeah.
And then you've got his hedgehog one, which he was given to, which is another yellow one. Then you have, Blades, which he starts with Lion Senki. Then he has Peter Fantasista. And then let's see if he gets a third one. Then you get Kenzan, which, by the way, I will mention, I do not like his mask because that's a bit busy.
No, I think it's simple. It's like, because it's like a sword with
it's
star.
it's busy. Anyway, that aside, we'll get to that another day. But anyway, he gets right. This is where I get confused. He has his ninja book, and then he has three little pigs. But like with Buster, he doesn't change his look. He just
Thing is, Buster's very. I'll say, I mean, he's very big, but then Buster's very generic in terms of the scheme. But it's obviously they're kind of going. Each rider looks very different from one another. I mean, I might argue that Saber, Kenzan, and Espada might look a little bit like you could see a theme. But I'd say Blades and Buster look very different from each other and the others. That's just my opinion. So let's talk about episode 7. But before that, Fist with a Cam. So episode 7, I enjoyed this episode, not just for its key plot moments, but aspects that make it comparable to Sentai as well as Showa Rider. Continuing with my criticism of bad editing, I will continue to cut Saber some slack for being produced during COVID. Yeah, I will still point out the amount of green screen I noticed, mostly in a scene where the villains were in their house and Medusa was introduced, as the graphics were clearly layered, though not for the same reason when I think about how comically bad Kamen Rider like Ichigo 1971 was edited and spliced. I mean, it was still very much loved back then. Fast forward 49 years, and standards are obviously ridiculously high, right? And the slightest flaw gets picked on, not by me, of course. Another comparable trait for this episode is we see both Rintaro and Toma going through trials of sorts for their newest powers. Rintaro getting Pegasus from a trial in the training room, which we didn't really see, but having his master played by a veteran actor whose name I've forgotten. And then Toma going through a desert and just about evading Caliber, I believe it was.
Yes.
So we've got that going on. And but he had the help of Espada because there was obviously that father-son thing going on. Toma's real trial comes up in episode 8 though, which we'll talk about shortly. And though it's a better effort than just having the ride books handed to them, I see it as a throwback to harsher trials that were in the Showa era, like fond memories of my beloved Tachibana-san and the swing ball and the crane come flooding back in scenes like this. I do like the looks of both new suits, even if there are just the subtle changes. May, on the other hand, continues to irritate and seem pointless, but at least she has the comic relief down. To which this episode has her acting somewhat like an anime character, and then starts falling over Rintaro, which I think's a bit weird. I guess, I do award the actress her props for sticking to the script. Overall, I genuinely like the story and plot progression-wise, and we do get a glimpse of Slash's sword. Yeah, I mean, what did you think of episode 7?
In general, it was alright. We got more, as you mentioned, story development. We got more character development from especially Rintaro. But also a bit of Kento, which was nice. Him and his little rivalry with his spoiler alert father, that being Caliber. Then you have, and I'm just going to quickly tap on this. That I will agree. May for me is getting more and more annoying, and the her comedic stance is more now irritating, and her trying to be a reporter or newspaper journalist or whatever.
She's I don't know. She's assistant to the editor or something because like she keeps.
Yeah, but the thing is, see, here's the thing. Just a quick thing. If you're an editor, write your own stuff.
No, that's not how that works. Because obviously, no, obviously Toma's the novelist. He's the writer, and she's the one that goes. I mean, again, not that I know anything about the writing world, but I believe she's like some sort of sub editor, and then she has her editor in chief, which I believe that's also how newspapers works. But no, they are. It's not news. It's not journal newspaper like Ryuki was. It's again. It's a whole new perspective. It's him being a novelist. It's him doing something that's actually artistic. I mean, when I think,
So she's a publicist.
no, like I mean again, because you had you had Ryuki who was journalist, but you didn't really get to see the artistic side. Whereas Tama, you're seeing him writing, you're seeing him at his desk. I mean, when I think about it, like off the top of my head, I mean, like being a detective has been used in about two or three, at least three different riders. We've seen cops, at least drivers of cops say. I mean, off the top of my head, anyone who might have been remotely artistic. I mean, because Kota from Gaim, he was like a sort of job to job man. He kept going between jobs. I mean, like we do see, like I think, like take Gaim again, which we'll be talking about in episode 8. Like Gaim, you've got the guy who's Bravo, who's like, he works in in a dessert shop. So, you see him crafting and cooking, like not cooking, but baking and stuff. And you see the artistic flair for that. But main character-wise, again, I'm actually struggling to think. But again, just being, focusing on Toma, we are seeing him do his art. We are seeing him convey the passion for his art. Whether he's talking to, whether it's part of the storyline or if he's talking to a bunch of kids who are in his bookshop. So, I mean, again, you could say that actually he's a bookshop owner, which is like, kind of typical, shop owner, which we have kind of seen. Again, normally it's by the mentor rather than the rider, but still, our rider with that, and then the mentors like Sophia in her library, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been quite funny if they'd done a library, though, right?
Yes, I agree, but nevertheless, I mean, we're still saving that for his final form, though, don't forget.
Are we? What do you mean?
No. I meant as a joke that you concurred that if they called his final form library form
I mean no, because I remember I remember I was saying earlier that obviously episodes 5 and 6 were about the 13 books, but again we know there's going to be more than 13 books, and again like you think of build in genius form, it's going to be mad if Toma just ends up having all the books.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
but that'd be a good name. I did run a library form. I like that.
I mean, when mentioned about the 13 sigils or the symbols, the 13 symbols, books, whatever you want to call it.
Wonder Ride books, yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that there was just by trying to suss out the images and whatever, there was a few animal orientated ones, and like there was the lion. I don't know whether that's what Rintaro has for Lion Senki. I don't know if that's a separate one, that being that of, say, as an example, Lion King or whatever. Or there was one that of a deer. Is that meant to represent Bambi or whatever? Or heck, even the oversized koi fish with a crown on it. Is that supposed to represent, like, say, King Atlantis from Little Mermaid or whatever? Do you know what I mean?
King Atlantis. I think you mean King Triton, but I'm not
making
an analogy, but okay.
I mean, are they supposed to be references to future books that we're going to be seeing potentially?
To be fair, when you look at the actual premise of the show, there is infinite potential, literally to go on forever. I mean, the fact that, we are going to be talking about Gaiden 3 at the end. But there is genuine potential for this to just go on and on and on. I mean, at least O's had like 5 sets of medals, and then if they're really going to do like a 6th or 7th or something, then they're going to really drag it out. But yet again, they're most likely not. Even though Memory of Heroes has been released, then they do bring back O's for that. But again, whether you're looking at 0.
So I'm going to correct you, 6 sets.
6 set. Again, it's been so long since I've seen O's, but either way, like, when you look at something like that, if they're going to bring in a whole new set for O's, for example, again, that's really dragging it out. Whereas even 01, where they were all individual keys, when you look at Saber, where they're all individual Wonder Ride books, there's infinite potential to have an infinite amount of powers and power-ups and auxiliaries and whatnot, right?
But the thing is when it comes to infinite, and by the way, I just remembered there's a seventh form in O's. But anyway, that aside,
Those in sets of medals, you mean?
All right, let me just get this out of the way. You got the insect form, you got the yellow form, Ratarai, the lion one, basically.
Yeah.
Right? You've then got Sagozo, Tajadol. You've got the ocean.
Tajadol's the same as the first one, the red one. I mean, if I do it by colours, you've got red, yellow, green, blue, which was specifically water animals, purple, which was the dinosaurs. Those are the 5 I remember.
White.
I don't remember white.
The grey one.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the Aztec ones. The movie version.
Oh, I vaguely remember the movie at best, but alright. So
anyway,
7 sets of medals, but again, like...
mentioning, you mentioned that there's infinite amount of powers, right? What I
meant was, like, you look at O's, like, again, you've got sets, so for them to come up with, like, an 8th or a 9th, say, they would have to come up with a whole new set concept, which, again, takes time, whereas something like 01 or Saber, where they're all individual Progrise keys or individual Wonder Ride books, they could literally go on forever. I mean, obviously 01's about animals, and again, we've got a whole animal kingdom, which again, unlike O's, won't be restricted to doing them in sets. They could just be like, oh, here's one new Progrise key. Here's 5 new Progrise keys. And again, it's the same with the Wonder Ride books. So where they're taking their inspiration from literature, think of all the books that have been written. So you're talking about Little Mermaid, right? Again, it's infinite. And then they're also mixing in animals as well. So you've got like random hedgehog and whatnot. They're mixing both literature and the animal kingdom. There's
here's my
potential.
I have a problem. Right, I both agree. Yes, the potential is infinite when it comes to the actual type of books they could go from. But my greatest fear is that, and we're gonna tap on this at the end of this episode and also episode 8 as well, but then that'll mean that there is that fear thought or fear factor that you're going to introduce more riders and more sets for them. Like,
they've already said, like it's gone on record that Saber's going to have a ridiculous number of riders. Well, they don't necessarily need to introduce new riders for new Wonder Ride books, though.
What?
I'm saying they don't necessarily need to introduce a new rider for a new Wonder Ride book. Because, think of what we've got at the moment. We've got, whatever the hell Brave Dragon's supposed to be. Jackie Dragon. To be fair, those are the main 2 Wonder Ride books at the moment. You've got Jack the Beanstalk, you've got Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, you've got 3 Pigs, you've got Random Hedgehog thing, you've got... for some reason, Rintaro has 2 Wonder Ride books that are pretty similar to each other, Pegasus and Lion Senki. So again, we've only got, bearing in mind we've only got like 5 to 6
Don't forget his third one. Don't forget his third one.
What's the third one?
So basically...
Alright then, alright, go on.
So just continuing on with the, how did I feel about this? I mean, we kind of diverted, but nevertheless, it just felt very... Story-wise, I actually didn't mind it, how he tried to discover a power out of nothing. And it took me a while to basically wonder what the dude in the white cloak was saying. If you don't believe it's there, it's not there kind of thing. So he had to envision it. He had to believe in it effectively. Whilst that's cheesy as hell, I actually didn't mind it. Now, what I didn't enjoy is when, what's the word? On one hand, I wish we got more of a sword and shield weapon when it came to King Arthur form, but I'm just going to quickly get into that because
He did.
all we
Yeah.
all we
Oh,
got
go on.
all we got was a bloody additional sword, which I understand is supposed to be like Excalibur, but
He
it's
already has a
just
sword. He already has a sword, doesn't he? Of course, I get that.
yes, and thus if it were like a sword and shield, it would have been a
That
bit more
that would have
unique.
been, that would I actually agree with you on that, because yeah, that would have actually been a good aesthetic as well. But I guess yeah. I mean, the one thing that we got to appreciate with Saber for the hot minute is how they are like, even though I will say I'm not finding the choreography as good as 01, but it's still pretty good. Like, I'll give it some props considering again we're watching this in the time of COVID. It's being produced in the time of COVID, so I can cut it some slack.
I think the words to sum it for this episode would be inconsistent.
I mean, that's a bit harsh, but I can see what you mean. But again, I'm
I mean,
some slack.
did you notice the cave that Toma enters as the
Yeah, it's the
trial?
same with yeah, they've used that set on New Soldier and
Everything, almost
yeah. I
every.
think it was also quite Keen Gaim as well, wasn't it? With the Overlords or something. Yeah.
It's just why? I know financial reason, but
I
it
wouldn't even
just
say it's financial. Again, it's like, because you got to remember they've got, because one thing I know they said during the production of Fires is they reckon that getting permission for locations was getting harder and harder, and that there was speculation that they'd have to start recording rider locations outside of Japan. But that again, that was back in Fires, and I'm pretty sure that's not actually come to fruition. So as far as we know, it is still being recorded in Japan. I mean, like Sentai seems to share its production values with Power Rangers in that they record in they record some things in New Zealand. I mean, you go back to Magi Ranger, you see those cliff shots. Again, they outsource the production to New Zealand. They outsource the location to New Zealand, but like, I mean, because this is it. Because like recycling locations is definitely a trope. I mean, for me,
no. I know where. Can I just let me interject? I'm not asking them to recycle. Sorry, I don't mind them reusing, but they could have just tinkered it a little to make it look like it's not the same thing. This is just basically, it's the same
I don't
location.
know. No, I mean, like when I think about it, like when I think about how they shot it from the ground up, so you were looking more at the ceiling rather than the cliff faces.
Doesn't matter. It's still
But
a
that's it.
cave.
That's the tweaking that you're talking about. But
No, no, add stuff to it. That's what prop
what?
designers
What?
are there for.
Like what? Like a tree or something? Put a tree in there.
Anything, just to
A
basically. I'm not
vase.
trying
You
to
want them to
update
add a
the
vase or a vase,
location
as the
into like a
Americans call it.
home.
I don't
I
know.
don't care. You know what I mean? Just do
Didn't I'm
something.
thinking? Didn't Ghost use it, and they just had like a pillar with like gobbledygook written up and down it?
Good, good.
I mean, what can you expect? I mean, they're on a budget. It's COVID.
See,
It was only
the thing is
it was
this:
only a couple of
if
short
you
scenes
don't
as
have
well. To be
anything,
fair.
the thing is if you don't have anything, then the only thing you see is this empty, vast cave that we've already seen in past series. If you add something to it, it takes your focus to that item that they made as opposed to this empty, vast crevice.
Okay.
Anyway, that's just.
I think we need to go
Uh,
on to episode 8 now, right?
can I? One thing I will premise that I completely missed and I forgot
Go on.
when while the training of Rintaro was a little silly, really, him doing so many front rolls and whatnots and whatever, him using now I've got to get this right now, fantastic lion form, which was a bit of a bizarre name from honestly, because him using the geez, was it Heavenly Pegasus, Lion Senki, and Peter Fantasista? It does the form itself. I have to admit, it actually looks all right. I'm not going to deny that. It makes him more complete, and I'll give it that. And while the choreography was a bit clunky at parts, you know, for one, I wish the enemy did eat May, but that's just me wishful thinking. Um, yeah, heck, you know, you've got now this whole Prince Charming, her knight in shining armor now, kind of. Well, let's see how that goes, kind of thing.
I don't think it went. Yeah, like I mean, so going into episode 8, I mean, we see like all right, so we do see May kind of turn up at the library. I'm sure there was a name for that location, but I'm just gonna call it the library. Yeah, with Sophia and Slash. That yeah. Anyway, so we do see like May there, but when we come on to episode 8, I'll let me. What are your thoughts on episode 8?
Very, very Power Rangers style.
Agreed.
And I know. So I'm gonna sum it in such that this whole episode was Toma trying to understand why he couldn't, or he was afraid to use the power. And
it was
initially.
Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say, initially, everyone was doing their own thing, where, to sum it, it's basically, okay, let's all do it together because we're a team. And there were 2 points, one at the beginning and one near to the end, where there was a very group tension, while unfortunately we didn't see them actual henshin sequence, if you will, together. It just felt, again, it's so Power Rangers-esque that I don't know whether to think if they're taking a few steps back or such. Just felt very, I don't know.
Probably is like a sort of resource thing. Like, you know, they are more kind of going that Sentai route probably because it's more popular. And, you know, like to kind of, you know, just because I do kind of I will talk about this in a sec. So, like, you know, to go to what you're saying specifically, like at the beginning, people were like spotting all these Sentai tropes, and people like they're introducing Sentai tropes to Rider. But then there was the people on the other side who were saying, look, just because I've got a couple of Sentai tropes doesn't mean it's turning into Sentai. But 8 episodes in now, it's kind of like episode 8 really hammers some heavy Sentai tropes. But just to address one of your points before I talk about my thoughts. Like, you mentioned the guy in the cloak, and you mentioned about why Toma was, like, hesitating with his power. I mean, that does come down to, like, you see at the very beginning of episode 8 that he's like, oh, because this is it. Because in my opinion, it's a bit of a shortcut. It's like, right, your trial is just about to begin, and it's about the use of this power. So that's why he was hesitant. And you see Caliber, he's like rubbing it in his face. He's like, oh, you're not good over the power. I should be using this power. And, I'm pretty sure I've seen that trope in either Sentai or Rider before, or generally Tokusatsu. But but coming into my notes for episode 8, the one thing that we need, that's really behind the scenes on this is you're mentioning the guy in the white cloak, the guy in the white cape. Now, you probably don't know this, but this actor is actually part of a group of actors. I mean, I'm not too sure if it's an agency-related thing, but this guy is connected to, if I remember correctly, he's connected to Lupin Red from Lupin Ranger. And that's the only guy I remember. There was others. There was a couple of other Kamen Rider actors. I think either the guy from Build or X-Aid. And a couple of other. So this guy who's playing the guy in the white cape, he's actually going. There's high speculation that he's going to become a rider. He's going to have a rider form of sorts, and he's going to be reoccurring. And this guy is linked to other actors in the acting industry in Japan. So I'm personally really excited to see what they come up with for this actor and character and how this character is going to develop. But talking about episode 8, the episode was slower paced, but once again has a great set of ideas, even if some of them are Sentai. And it still breaks apart that format of two-part stories by having a multi-level overstretching story. So again, you think about Toma not having his power, that's like 3-4 episodes over. I don't personally feel that Toma was stretched in what was a build-up to the alleged second trial. And of course, we are introduced to this giant mecha-style armament where Saber's used as an actual saber, which the internet was going absolutely mental for. I don't know if you saw that. And then there was like much of a stronger hint that Caliber is just going to be a repeat of Black Master from Ryu Soldier, where he's secretly good or something. However, the most heartwarming moment for me was definitely the kid of Ogami-san. Like, you see that scene where he runs off, but then he comes back, like, inspiring Toma, which really, again, like, for me, that was very heartwarming.
Agreed.
You know, but it also go on.
No, I was going to jump in and say I completely forgot about how that kid, not only was he inspiring to Toma, but when the guys came back to the library giving the bad news to the kid, he just, it's almost like as though not brushed off, but he believed that his father will come back. And I'm like, whoever wrote the character for the father and the son give them a fruit basket, because
fruit basket. That's
well, seriously.
But I mean, like, to like go on still, like, you know, when I see this kid, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, as well as the kids who generally turn up to the bookshop. Like, it's very, for me, it's very strong Showa vibe. It's very strong Showa era. I mean, it's probably, I could even consider it slightly better, because rather than having like all the kids, you have the one main kid who's the son of Buster, Ogami-san. And, you know, where it's like there was like all, it's kind of funny that, this one kid is inspiring, because I think of the kid in Kamen Rider Amazon. He was like more comical, but it was kind of like it was still heartfelt in that same way. And the one thing that I'm ultimately finding somewhat ironic is the kids who were in the Showa era are most likely parents and grandparents themselves now. I mean, we do get, so like to move on for like, so moving on to the other actors, we do get cameos from the actors from Kamen Rider Gaim. Now, like, there's been speculation.
Really?
Yeah, you see, I think it's watermelon, not watermelon, Galia melon guy and Bravo. They were turned into stone, and then.
Oh, really? There were those two?
Yeah. It was Michi's older brother.
Yeah, I know who you mean, but
I think
what do you mean by watermelon? Because watermelon.
No, he was white Galia melon. The white. I think it's Shingetsu, I think his name was. The white rider from Gaim. The older brother of Michi, the businessman.
Oh.
Right, and then you had the cake shop.
Soda lemon.
Yeah, he had a soda form as well, yeah. So you see those two actors, and they collapsed on the floor and then got turned into stone.
Yeah.
And
I did not know that were those.
Yeah, I mean, like, because even before I saw the episode, I'd seen, like, screenshots all over social media. But it's like, I've watched it, and I'm like, I don't, like, it's a good Easter egg. It's definitely them. You can tell it's them. Although you can tell it's them. But I personally don't think it is them as the characters from Gaim, unless they somehow lose their powers in Gaim Gaiden 3. Which this is clearly a sort of plug and promotion for. And I still...
That's a stretch.
No. Well, no, I mean, again, like, I think it's a nice little promotional Easter egg without actually being like... because again, you look at when they did Kick Hider, when they promoted, Sharavan, is it? Like when they promoted, Space Sheriff guy.
Yes.
They kind of did these whole one episode throwouts to these promotional things that they were doing. Whereas this is very much a very subtle nod, which, I will give them, props for. And again, I don't think they are the same characters, though. I think, there could be potential for, like, a crossover, but it would just seem a bit random considering Saber and Gaim are not going to have any direct connection. I mean, I also feel that so coming back to the main story, I do feel that there must be a little more significance to Toma writing out the way he wanted the episode to end. And as random as that seemed, I do find it fits the theme clearly. And it also teaches a good lesson that everything's better when you plan stuff out by writing it down first. So the episode has two major fight scenes that are very well choreographed. And yeah, they were just all-out brawls in a typical sort of brawl fashion. And like we do see because like we've got like the monster of the week kind of coming back, but there's two of them. So it's
Medusa.
yeah, Medusa. And and again.
So I was going to say the gist of Medusa was that apparently there were 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. But this is kind of thing, but it also helps the production out in that they get to recycle the suit. So they just stretch it out. So, it is very... so again, that is also a trope of Sentai. So, like, a lot of things... So, people who are saying at the beginning, oh, just because they've got an end theme with a dance doesn't mean it's going down the Sentai route. But not only are they recycling Monsters of the Week in the same way that Sentai does, but the big obvious theme in this episode, teamwork. You don't often...
I'm going to add one more to that. After your comment, I'm going to add one more on top of that for this whole Sentai trope thing.
Go on. No, that's it. Like, teamwork. I mean, that's my... I mean, again, people can be like, oh, episode 1, just because they've got an end theme with a dance doesn't mean it's going down the Sentai road. Well, 8 episodes in, they're really hammering that teamwork ethic. They're recycling. To be fair, like, Ryder does recycle Monsters of the Week from time to time, but not in this manner.
So the one thing you've overlooked with the Sentai trope thing is a big monster, like a city-sized monster. Number 2.
You mentioned that Saber was used as a saber. So, yeah, but, of course. But as a Sentai trope, of course.
But another Easter egg. When King Arthur the sword turns into an oversized mech, effectively, that is so Zuban from Bokenja.
I get that, but I mean, like, when you talk about that sort of gatai, it's not so much a gatai in the literal sense, but the sort of twisting and manipulation of the form. I mean, we do see that in Rider a couple times already. I mean, we've made so many references to Gaim. Like, you had the Gaim form, which literally... And then it's like a giant watermelon robot. So we do see that in Rider a couple times, but I think just the style and presentation is definitely a lot more Sentai.
Yeah. Like... Would you say the target demographic now not now, but this series has gone from like semi-mature to like lower?
That's a tough one because I think it probably is more to do with watering it down and maybe kind of if they make Rider like this and I'm not saying I'm right on this. But, like, potentially they could be watering Rider down so it makes Sentai look better. So Sentai will get its numbers up, considering Sentai's numbers are quite low. That's potentially. But I think, bearing in mind we had an amazing series in 01. And then they had to, like, cut it and make it sharper and stuff. So here I think they're literally just kind of lulling around,
So do you think this is going to be like a very...
it'll be interesting. It'll just be interesting to see how Sentai Kamen Rider can get. That's all I'll say on that matter.
I mean, this way, if they're going to be introducing more, riders upon riders upon riders, like if we're going to go into the teens for the hell of it, then it's just going to be...
Well, I mean, they could always go like the sort of Luffy Pat route and do like 2-3 sets of teams. Who knows? But to kind of round this all off, so if you've got final thoughts on episode 8, you know, it's definitely going to go down that rider route. So two things that, yeah, like I've already mentioned, the guy in the cape be going on to be most likely be a rider because he's from that same group of people that Lupin Red and a few of the other
Yeah, yeah.
have been. But then, like it was vaguely hinted at the episode 9 preview, but those who've been paying attention will know that there is going to be a female rider introduced in the future, as well as the upcoming Kamen Rider Slash. So we saw his sword
Right.
in episode 6, I think, yeah. But the form is called Hansel Nuts No Gretel, which again, it's like they could me, like if you're going to katakana eyes something, try to be a little bit closer. And why is it Hansel Nuts? I'm not quite sure.
No.
Hansel Nuts, no Gretel. It's insane.
It's basically right. Number one, I will say this right now, and I'm looking at the shot, if you will, from the preview of the suits of Kamen Rider Slash, and I'm getting a lot of Decade mixed with Kamen Rider and Rogue.
Yeah, because
So
it's
Crocodile and
magenta.
Rogue.
It's because it's magenta and black. That's why.
But also the chest screams Crocodile and Rogue.
I'll have to have a close look because if anything, that helmet is so loud, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't scream Slash. It just screams more Smash.
They maybe should have been called Kamen Rider Smash. That would have been an
But
epic name. That would have been an epic. I hope they introduce a Kamen Rider Smash.
they wouldn't. No, I don't think they
Kamen
would,
Rider
because it's not in theme.
Smash. No,
it
maybe
wouldn't.
maybe not specifically in Saber, but a future production. Kamen Rider, not necessarily a main rider, like as in the name of the series is Kamen Rider Smash. No, a secondary or additional rider, if not in Saber, in the future, there has to be a
Yeah,
Kamen Rider Smash.
but then that's like
It's
saying
Kamen Rider Smash. I'm gonna go all out on him.
But then that's like saying you introduce what's it like? You have a little say back in the Batman '66 where you have the
no, but you look at
kind of
but
thing.
you look at the way the helmet is. That's exactly what I'm referring to. Like it just looks like the effect. Like,
Yes. Yeah. So then just have another one called Bottled.
nah, that's too British. That's too British. I get it, but that's too British. They wouldn't do that. Any final thoughts on news or anything you're expecting coming up?
So I'm hoping we get more character progression, more the choreography for this episode 8, was hit and miss for me. When I saw the big, not Zuban, King Arthur form, if you will, and then he just grabbed Saber and then just swung him like a sword. I literally like rolled my eyes back, and I'm like, really, you did that? At least it explains the bloody sword horn thing, putting to good use. But it just, it's one of those series that I couldn't really give two toshes about the actual choreography. Well, that said,
I did like the choreography, especially in episode 8 with the brawls. But yeah, go on.
right. I was gonna add, I give the exception to Kenzan using 3 little pigs and having 3 clones of himself. I thought
That was good.
clever.
That was good.
That was good.
That was his trump card. That was his trump card.
I know.
Vote
But
November
now-
the 3rd, Americans. Yeah, go on.
But another thing, by the way, have you noticed, and I'm gonna throw this out to you, I don't know if you noticed, but Kenzan technically has 3 green books.
I don't know.
He has his own, he has the 3 little pigs, and if they think carefully, Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, but we've not seen him use that, have we? Have we?
No, but what I mean is Buster.
So basically, we're going to
Kenzan
for another O's. That's basically what you're trying. Even though I was trying to say earlier that O's is all about sets. mean, because obviously Wonder Ride books aren't, even though I can see what you're getting at with the color scheme, but again, they're not specifically setting them up as sets. But yeah, sure, why not having more
And
three?
I mean, on
Because
top of
bearing
that,
in
look,
mind, like, because when Toma uses 3 books, he's not necessarily using. I think he does use 3 red books at one point, though, doesn't he?
no, no, he
Oh,
hasn't.
all right, but again, maybe he will do.
No doubt. No doubt.
All
But
right.
also on top of that, he's done Prime League colors, he's done the King Arthur form, you know. So no doubt he's gonna have. But what I'm curious is will Kenzan have a new form for his 3 book?
Possibly. I mean, we've got to see him use that Jack and the Beanstalk one, I guess. Oh well.
But
So,
either
so thank you everyone for watching our massive monthly review of Kamen Rider. You can catch us all on the social medias as per. You've got my boy Winter Cosplayer on Facebook and Instagram. We've got this very channel, Toku Bros at Facebook, Instagram, this very YouTube channel, and us at Twitter at Toku Bros 71. And finally, myself, RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku. You can find me on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've got my own YouTube channel. I do also have Reddit as well, but I will probably pop that up there at some point. And of course, my Patreon and blog site, ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. So we will probably be looking to switch to a weekly format after today. So do stay tuned, and as always,
fist through the can.
see you next time.